Hi there, welcome to this build of a 45-inch wingspan Quiver. Now the Quiver is a scaled down version of the iconic late 1930s Quaker or Quaker Flash Flying Quaker, which was a free flight model. Now we're building this as 2 channel just so we can have rudder and elevator and kind of keep it in the vicinity of the flying field. Now in the last video we got the 2 wings, the right and left wings, completed, and we're going to be joining them together in this video. And this is always an exciting time because things really start to take shape, but it's also quite nerve-wracking because once we start gluing them, they're going to be set and they're not going to move, and we need to get them precise and just right. Now we can see on the wing we've got 4 spars, and these are 1/8 square spruce, and we're going to make 2 dihedral braces out of 1mm ply I've got here, and we're going to make 2 braces, 1 for each pair of spars, so a front and a back brace. We're also going to deviate a little bit from the plans because on the plans it shows the dihedral braces and the spars coming down to a point and actually going inside the fuselage. We'll have a look at the plans here and we'll talk it through. We can see we've got the 2 dihedral braces here. We've got the front one and the rear one. Now the front one is slightly deeper just because the narrower spars are closer together due to the taper of the wing. And we can see here that the braces come down to a point, and they're supposed to be left like that, and these just point into the fuselage or disappear down into the top of the fuselage. Well, I don't like that. I'm going to flatten them out, and also the V that's created by this dihedral brace and the joining of the wings, you're supposed to put in a piece of balsa on top of the dihedral braces and the spars, and then cap that off with a little bit of balsa to give you a flat central section over the fuselage. Well, I'm going to make these braces with a flat section on the bottom and on the top, so we're just going to deviate a little bit, and we'll probably strengthen this area a little bit more once we've got everything glued up. So we're going to do away with this bit, and we're going to have this line here with a flat bottom and then this top piece. And I've also extended them because they're quite long anyway, but at present it shows them coming out to where, let me just get this other wing. It shows them coming out to here, halfway along this gap between these 2 ribs. And I kind of think, what's the point in finishing it halfway? I might as well extend it right up as far as I can, because we're going to have to do a cut in these ribs to allow the dihedral brace to slide in. So anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this as a template, and I'm going to get my 1mm ply and we'll make up these dihedral braces now. Okay, so I've cut out my dihedral brace, my newly designed shaped dihedral brace, and I've just put it onto the plywood, and I've just carefully just run my pencil around. So now we can cut that out, and I can do this probably with like a Stanley knife, a heavy duty kind of knife. Probably do it with an X-Acto. I think scalpels are perhaps a little bit too delicate for this. And this flat section here is the width of the fuselage, so that'll fit nicely on the fuselage when the wings are joined together. Right, well, I've cut out my 2 dihedral braces, thinner one for the back, and that will go from the start of the flat on that rib, so it will go, go about like that there. And then we've got the bigger dihedral brace, and that is going to go in like that. And it's shown on the plans they're behind the spars, not in front, so I'll follow the plans and do that. I don't think it makes a lot of difference. Now what I need to do to be able to insert these is cut cut a 1mm piece out of that rib and that rib, just level with the spar, so that this will just slide in or slot down like that. Now I'm going to do that obviously with both, but I'll do the front one first. And I think what I'm going to do, I've cut some thin 1/16 balsa, and before I start cutting the ribs, I'm going to do some shear webbing, and I'm going to put shear webbing on the front of these bays, so those first 4 bays, and that'll just give it a little bit of strength. When we've got the brace on, it will make this a box section, and it will, for the amount of weight, which is negligible really, it will add a huge amount of strength. So I'm going to do that first, and it's important you can see the grain running down. We don't want it running horizontal, we want the grain running vertical, and that's how we get our maximum strength. So I'm going to cut these pieces up. Again, thinner stuff here for the back, 2 spars, and thicker for the front spars. So I'm going to get that shear webbing done. I'll then get these 3 ribs cut, so we can slot that in, clamp it up, and we'll see what it looks like. Right, I thought it was time for a quick update. I've got the shear webbing on the front of both pairs of spars, and what I will do eventually with this is I will just take off the that sharp edge, probably with a scalpel like this. Maybe I'll probably sand it as well. It just, when you get the tissue on, it will just make it, you can see even there, it makes it a little bit less visible through the tissue, because we have to remember the tissue is going to be semi-transparent, and if we just chamfer that off 45 degrees, and you can see I've set it down a little bit so it doesn't actually catch on the tissue and the laminating film, so it'll just look a lot better on the finished product. Now I've cut out a couple of the ribs here. You can just see there I've cut out a slot, and the brace will just fit in, slide in there now nice and snug. And I thought, I've got one more, and I thought I would just show you how I'm going to or how I've been cutting that. It's difficult to get this in with one hand. There we go. So, but it needs to go up to here, so we just need to cut out that one. Now to do that, I'm putting it, I've got this piece of, I think it's probably about 1/2 inch by 3/4 beech. It's like an engine bearer or that kind of material, and I'm just putting the rib onto there like that, and then I'm using a long scalpel blade. I mean, actually you could use a razor saw on this one because there's enough space. You couldn't do on the top ones because the ribs are too close together, so you can just cut that, and when we've got that one cut, has that one gone through? I think so. Then we get the dihedral brace, and we just hold that up against the spars, and we can just go along. Oops, that's just moving. There we. Let's just make sure that's held right. There we go. We just go along with the scalpel and mark that. Once that's done, we can then just run along with the scalpel and take that bit of balsa out, which we've done there, I think. That's out. It's always difficult to do this in front of the camera when I'm actually trying to hold it as well. So now that should just slide in there. Yeah, I think I need to take a little bit more off. I think, oh no, there we go. Is that going to slide in? Yeah, there we go. There. So now we've got that dihedral brace, let's turn that around, fitted on those spars. And when we're setting this up, we can just get a clamp and just hold that in place. And another advantage of having the shear webbing is that it will hold it easily with the clamp. It won't be sort of falling in between the spars. So with there we have the one dihedral brace on that wing. So what I'm going to do now is do the same for these ribs and the other wing, and then we'll try and get this set up on the bench. Right, well, I've now got this all mocked up and it's gone together really well. I think having the two dihedral braces holds it really nice and firm. And as you can see, I've got the clamps on. I haven't glued it yet. I still need to just do some final checks. But there's a few reference points that I'm using to make sure that I've got this set up exactly how I want it. And what I'm doing is I'm measuring right at the very wingtips to make sure that I've got the same lift on either wing, so the dihedral is equal. Now I'm also measuring at this rib here, which is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th rib along on the back, and checking that on that side as well, so that those are the same. And then I'm checking at this rib here and just checking that. The reason I'm doing this one so far down is because I've actually profiled that, whereas I haven't touched the balsa at this point. And if those are right and those are right and the front are right, then hopefully we should have a twist-free wing. But my main thing, the thing I do the most and makes me happy I've got this in the right place, is to get myself more or less straight in front of the wing and to move my head down and up and just see when the underside of the wing comes into view on both sides, and to make sure that's equal. If you've got a twist, you'll see the underside of one wing before the other. So, and to be honest, I trust my eye probably more than the measurements. Obviously, getting the tip height is critical because that's difficult to assess with my eye doing what I've just said. But as far as the twist, which is really critical that we get a good flying wing twist free, you know, moving up and down and using my eye is the best way. Now we can see I've trimmed the spars, the spruce spars, and so that they are flat on the underside, they don't stick down into the cabin, and we've got the plywood brace coming across here. Now I've got a piece of balsa that I'm going to put in the back there once I've stuck these together, and I've got a piece of leading edge which is going to go in. What I will then do is I've got some ribs which I will cut and put in the front, the middle and this back section. So rather than having just a flat piece of balsa, which seems to be shown on the plans actually, that it's just flat straight across there, I'm actually going to be following the curve of the wing, and I think that will look so much better. Now as far as gluing this, I'm going to be, when I've done this in the past, I've always, every single time I've used epoxy, slow setting 30-minute epoxy. I think today I'm going to be using CA to glue the braces, and then I'm going to be doing, and I'll glue the braces here onto the spars, but then I'm going to glue on another piece of 1mm ply on the front of the spars here, and I'll be doing that with epoxy and making sure that it's around these spars and we've got a good solid section in the middle there. I think that will be well strong enough. If you're not happy using CA and you're doing this, then 30-minute epoxy is just as good. But I would rather spend the time getting this just right and then glue it, rather than getting it just right, happy with it, and then have to take it all apart to put the epoxy on. I'm sure the CA will be fine on such a small model like this, and it's actually going to end up quite a strong structure down here. Right, there's just one more point I thought it'd be worth making, and I've got this all set up now and I am happy it's right, and I'm going to start gluing it in any second now. But it's important to make sure that your leading edge is a lovely straight line. You don't want your wings swept back or swept forward. And to do that, I've just put these 4 identical blocks, or at least they're the square that way. These are slightly higher obviously. And I've got this straight edge just pressed on to make sure those 4 blocks are in a line, and you can see that they're all touching that leading edge. Another good reason not to profile that leading edge until we've got the wings joined. So yeah, you just need to make sure that they're lovely and straight, your wings, that way. So I will get on and glue this now. Well, I've now got the 2 wings glued together and I've got the central portion built up. And I tell you what, it doesn't matter how many times I glue wings together like this, it's always a huge relief, because if it goes wrong and you end up with a twist in the wing, it'll be really ugly to try and get it out. If you're using heat shrink film, you can try and twist it and shrink it, but it's much better and stress-free if we can get it right first time. And this has gone lovely. I'm really pleased with how that's looking. Now I've also built up the central section, and rather than putting 2 central ribs down the middle like it shows on the plans, I've decided just to separate them equally in this central portion, just to spread the load. And I've also put in a couple of gussets at the back, and with these gussets the direction of the grain wants to go that way, just to make them as strong as possible. But the elastic bands on this will come from the 2 sides on the back and to the central point at the front. So it'd be quite nice to have these central ribs spreading the load. There is some sheeting that's going to go on, and I've cut a piece of sheeting, and that will go on like that. Little bit of an overhang on the sides here, only about a millimetre, 1/16 of an inch, something like that, very small. And we've got a little bit of a step before we meet the spar for the covering, but that's no big deal at all. That will just disappear. On the front we're going to end up with a little bit of a step on the leading edge, but what I'll do is I'll put a little bit of balsa either side there, and we'll just kind of feather that out, or just sand it out so it blends in, and that'll look absolutely fine when it's done. On the back I'm taking the balsa down to about 8mm off the trailing edge, and that's all going to taper, so we'll soon lose that as well. So it'll look really good with this sheeting on. It'll be stronger for the elastic bands, and it will make that central portion a little bit stronger as well. But you can see, I didn't mention this actually, I've also got the, which side is it? Yeah, okay. I've also got the a brace on the inside, just a small amount of 1mm ply. So we've got the big dihedral brace on the one side, and then on the other side we've got the shear webbing, and we've got that little bit of 1mm ply to make up that central section. And now this is really quite strong, so I'm quite pleased with how it's looking. So last job, let's get this central section on, and then we'll try it on the fuselage. Okay, last job done. Got the central sheeting glued on, and you can see I've just put those little bits of balsa either side there and just feathered it down. And once that profile is done on the front, the bull nose, it won't look out of place at all. And the same similarly with the just the trailing edge once that's trimmed down. But there we go, we've now got our joined wing. And as I said, there's only one thing left to do. Let's try it on the fuselage. Here we go. Always nice to see how this looks and takes shape. Yes, there, that looks nice. Lovely, look at that. How good, let me put my finger on the back. How good does that look? I'm really pleased with the look of that. This is going to be a lovely bird when it's finished. And as we can see, we've got the, let me just turn that over, we've got the 2 ribs which are there and there, just the same spacing as the fuselage to take the pressure of the wing. We're not the wings not being pulled down, and we've not got the covering taking the pressure. We've actually got the ribs. Anyway, that looks brilliant. Really pleased with that. In fact, I've got the tail somewhere. There we go. Excellent. Anyway, I will stop messing about with this and I'll draw this video to a close. But I hope you found it useful and interesting, and for me it's a big relief to actually get these wings joined and get them square and true. So thanks very much for watching, and please come back and see the next video where we're going to be fitting the wings to the fuselage. We're going to be putting the attachments for the bands, and as you can see, we haven't done this front section of the fuselage because I was waiting to get the wings done so we could make sure that it fit nicely. Thanks very much for watching.